Hey everyone, welcome back to Remember This Tech. Today I want to go for a newer build, and the goal of this build is to see if we can game using only the integrated graphics chip on this Ryzen 5600G. It's going to be the core of my build. Supposedly this chip can game at 1080p. Can it? We're going to find out. It has a 6-core CPU, 12-thread, running at 3.9 GHz and clocking up to 4.4. And 5600G. Please press pause if you want to see more. It uses Radeon graphics. Has 6 cores, 12 threads, clocks up to 4.4 GHz with a 3.9 GHz base clock. Socket AM4 first came out in 4/13/2021. Let's look at some of the rest of the parts for this build. The motherboard, I went a little bit overboard. Get it? Motherboard overboard. I got the Asus Prime B550 Plus motherboard, full ATX. It states it's Ryzen 5000 desktop ready and Windows 11 ready. So when we put the chip in, and we'll see immediately if it comes up and the BIOS recognizes it or not. Sometimes I've read that you need an older chip in order to flash the BIOS to recognize the newer chip. Let's take a look at this board really quick. Look at this board. It's pretty slick, right? I like the design. It's pretty sleek. This board I got for 120. Ryzen AM4 Prime Plus motherboard for this build, as it was affordable, but you can get even cheaper versions. Please press pause to view more. And for this build, we're trying to cut costs. I just got this Kingston NVMe Gen 3. I will use that for the primary boot and maybe put some games on a secondary SSD. I am using Kingston Fury Hyper DDR4. And here is the Corsair Vengeance 16 gig kit, DDR4, 3200 megahertz. It got a 650 watt bronze 80 plus power supply by Cooler Master. Plenty of power. And this beauty here, I figured instead of using one of my other ATX cases that I've already featured, why not feature this? This is a Corsair case. It is the 4000D case. Has a mesh filter, fans up front. There's one up front, but you can add 2 more. This is removable. Just kind of clips in place. And there is on the front ports, USB, headphone jack, power, and then there's USB-C as well. And it has a tempered glass side. I want to open this carefully so I won't cry if it breaks. So it's glass, real glass, so you can see how messy your insides are or not, depending on how you do your case builds. Inside this case here, we have another rear fan, and it could fit ATX, micro ATX, ITX, and eATX. The reason why I chose it is it looked nice. It was a good quality build, or at least it seemed to be. On the case, they have channels for running your cables. They have 2 spots here for mounting 2 SSDs. And they also have a 3.5-inch bay on the bottom to fit 2 mechanical drives or other. And then you have the spot here for your power supply to go. Without further ado, let's start this build, shall we? And there's an arrow on the chip, so that should go appropriately in the arrow for the socket here. So you line it up, and you shouldn't have to force it in. If you have to force it in, something's wrong. A pin's bent, or you are doing it wrong, and don't do that. Lightly snap it in place. It's already got a thermal grease pad here, and we're just going to put on the standard Wraith cooler. Yes, I know it's not the best, but the whole basis of this is to get the system going, run it with just what we have out of the box, and see if we can game with it. Make sure before you put in your CPU that you
brackets here and take them off so that you can mount the Wraith Prism cooler, leaving the back plate in place so that you can screw it in. Keep your mounting plate for the board in case you need it later on. And then you just line it up with the holes here for the screws. If you have glasses like me, you gotta put them on so they can help you see. I always tighten a couple of quarter turns on one screw, and then I go kitty corner and I tighten a couple on the other screw on the opposite opposing side, and then I go to the other screws and then I do the same. Plug in your fan, socket your RAM in the color-coded slots. I personally think that the white RAM sticks look nice on this board, don't you? You see there's an NVMe slot here and one here.
I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on.
So here's a minimalist cabling job that I did. Most everything's, hidden away until I'm sure that everything's good and power's on. This is the way it's going to stay. Alright, going into the BIOS for the first time, I recognized my chip, which is a great thing. Prime B550 Plus. BIOS rev is 2803. It shows my Ryzen 5600G with Radeon graphics. Shows the two fans. There's two more pinouts. Shows my boot storage device here, because I'm going to load the OS from there, which is USB that I created using Rufus. So that looks pretty good. So, yep. This is all good. You got AI tweaker in here. You can set a whole bunch of stuff, and overclocking, boost, DRAM timing control, GFX core voltage, everything. And there's also a section in here that I read about where you can, give more memory to the onboard graphics from the main memory. I heard that also that you should leave it at auto because it will automatically take what it needs within a certain amount of RAM. If you have a certain amount, 16, 32 gig, etc. GPU boost. So I think that's what it's auto. So auto scale, according to what game you're playing and how demanding it is. And you can set it to turbo mode, extreme mode, manual mode. For better 3D performance, set to extreme. Let's do that. And we can go back in and switch this if it is not really working so well. But for now, we're going to do that. Save and exit. And load the OS. Let's see how fast this OS loads. So that was 7 minutes from start to install to desktop for Windows 10 Pro. Obviously I need to do a couple tweaks. Setting up the drivers installs for the Asus motherboard. If you see behind me, this is a different monitor, isn't it? This is my Dell 27-inch curved monitor with 144 Hz refresh rate. Yes, I've upgraded, but not really. I took it from my main graphics editing computer so I can play games on it in the glory that the games deserve. Why not, right? Come on, let's check out some new titles for this channel and some older ones with great graphics. Let's go. So right now the video is pulling about almost 3 gig. 1920 by 1080 is what we're going to try. It's VSync is on, triple buffering is on. Let's see if we can't. Let's go for the gusto. Let's leave all the settings on. Ultra lighting quality is going to be up low. Vulkan graphics API. This is Red Dead Redemption. our overlay up here, 45 FPS, 38 FPS, 35, pretty good. I mean, I'm playing it off the on-chip GPU. The graphics is pretty cool. The snowstorm sucks for lighting and stuff, but
Found a little homestead down that way. Okay. Anyone
26 FPS, 27. I mean, it's not lagging, it's not stuttery, it's not jerky. 32 FPS. So far, GPU clock is 2300 megahertz, 99%, holding at 30 FPS. And it's pretty impressive. Dropped down at 27, but the fact that I can play this at 1080p is pretty good.
you want this? You're
I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I killed somebody I shouldn't have. Hell, these guys are all gonna shoot me. Alright, we're doing Red Dead Redemption Online. Alright, 16 gig of RAM. Let's check it out. And I will show you the settings for the game, for graphics, so you can know that it's the same. The GPU is pulling 3 gig of memory. So, well, that's quite a bit. But look here, 1920 by 1080, just so you know. Texture quality is on ultra. There's a lot of other settings for low that are set. It's, you know, for shadows and lighting, but that's fine. Looks like the FPS might have dropped though. Yeah, it did a little bit. We're at 21, 19, 20, 22. We might have to set the settings from ultra, put it to high. Apply changes. Yes. Confirm. Yes. Because now it's pulling 2.2 gig of memory for the video. Let's see if it bumped up the FPS or if it just like made it worse quality. Alright. So what we have here is a playable game, but FPS seem to have dropped a bit with the removal of half the RAM. Let's see if I can't get it to make it a little bit higher FPS. I don't want to dump the resolution down. Alright, well, we'll just apply changes here. Yeah, it's still 22, 21 FPS. It's not the greatest, but control last light. So 1920 by 1080 on high. 4FAA texture filtering. And here we go. Let's see if we can't, we're doing quite well. 50, 56 FPS. I just forget how the hell to get out of here so I can do the missions. I suppose I gotta talk to these idiots. It's running smooth as hell. I'm pretty amazed I can do this. Well, Metro is playing great. Finally knew where to go. Alright, everything's low. 1080p, now we're holding around 80 FPS. Yeah, it's pretty playable on this GPU. It's pretty amazing.
Artyom was one of the men who found these six.
Settings. Video. 1920 by 1080. Yeah, quality's low. but that's fine. Tessellation's off. 82 FPS, 60, 100% playable, maxing the GPU, but that's what it's supposed to do. So awesome. It's almost 5 gig of RAM used for the system. CPU is going up to 3.9, 3.8 gigahertz. See how it plays on this chip. I mean, this is the whole point, because you want to play this, save yourself some, a couple $100 in the inception, get yourself a great platform like this, set it up, and then basically get your graphics card later. Set to medium. A lot of the ray tracing effects are off. Let's apply. FPS is 29. Graphics look phenomenal on this monitor. 33. It's running decent. Let's see if we can turn a few options down a little bit more without sacrificing too much. Still at 1920 by 1080.
Let's go.
Cinematics played flawlessly. Super impressed with this system so far. We're still holding pretty good FPS. We're using 11 gig of RAM from the whole total system. And GPU is 99%. We're only using 16 gig of RAM this time. 27 FPS. Dipping a little bit. Just to double check to show you that in the options for the video and the display. 1920, excuse me, by 1080, just in case there wasn't any doubters out there. And we'll go back and we'll go into graphics and we'll just double check on the low and E to apply. So that's what we're playing at, low settings, but we're at 1920 by 1080. And it's just amazing because this is onboard graphics. For anybody who doesn't have a ton of money, this is 100% recommended in my book. This 6-core setup gives you plenty of power. I mean, yeah, you're dipping to 25, but it's completely playable. Totally awesome. Still looks great. Oh, there's some dire wolves. This is a awesome chip. Oh, I'm getting just wiped out here. This is what you get when you're a beginner, no armor, haven't skilled up, and a pack of dogs attacks you. Take your stuff because I need to craft. So we have to test Borderlands again. Double check the options for y'all. Video. So the frame rate's 22 to 62 smooth, VSync's off. Resolution is 1920 by 1080. Let's see if we can do this. All right, high distance, high detail, high texture. Staggeringly smooth on this system. Constantly amazed by this system, this 5600G with integrated graphics. We're running over 60 FPS without sweating it. GPU's at like 87. Bet you we could go even higher if we wanted. Still 55 FPS, 97% GPU utilization, that's great. CPU's spiking to 3.4, 4. Who the hell is shooting at me? Even with 16 gig of RAM, it's so playable. I'm so amazed at this GPU. It's so powerful for an entry-level gamer who doesn't have a ton tons of money to invest into a primary dedicated GPU at the start. I mean, it'll dip down to 48 when all the eye candy is going off. It's still maintaining over 50, 40. Looks like there's some iridium in down here. Before I save this game and quit, I gotta get this 4-pack of iridium. Bam, bam, bam. Iridium, what everyone needs. 16 gig of RAM, Borderlands 2 on the onboard Ryzen 5600G. Graphics, 100% playable. So I'm trying this new game. It's free on Steam. It's called War Thunder. It's like a war sim, kind of like Battlefield, you know? Graphics, 1920 by 1080, that's great. High settings for graphics. Let's test this out, shall we? Here we are. This game is perfectly playable at 1080p, 60 FPS. These old geriatric tanks. I think I'm deep in enemy territory. It's a fun game here. 60 FPS, 1080p. I don't see anybody. This game is totally playable, even with 16 gig of RAM, 49 FPS. What's the verdict on this game? War Thunder, it's free. It's free. What's better than a free game? A free game that looks good and it plays great with your integrated graphics on your Ryzen 5600G. Yes. For this next test, we're going to have to use a USB-C external drive with some video files on it. Why? Because I'm mixing it up. I want to see if you can do a little bit more than just play games on this CPU. Since it's 6-core, I'm going to test its video rendering ability in DaVinci Resolve 8.1 to be in fact. And you can use this free if you're into video editing. So see how it utilizes the core, shall we? I'll get it set up and then we'll test it out. Be right back. So we got a little bit over a 10-minute video clip here from one of my old videos. Let's see if we can't export it. And it's at 1920 by 1080 HD. Add to the render queue, render all. CPU is at 4.41 gigahertz, so that means that it's ramped up all 6 cores. Memory, 8.6 gig of memory out of the 16 gig is used. So we're done with that render, 1080p, 8 minutes 38 seconds. So, and that is 4.7 gig of file size. So I know a couple of you have mentioned, why don't you test some productivity software? Well, for me, video editing, rendering is productivity software. That file at 4.6, 4.7 gig, about 10, 11 minutes video file. It only took about 8 minutes to render it. It's not really that bad. You go and eat a sandwich or something, grab some coffee, and you got plenty of power there. Gaming, productivity, no lag, no slowdown. It was like 120, the Asus Prime, I got it on sale. And you know, the RAM is about $40 for that 16 gig Corsair DDR2 3200 megahertz kit. I think for
the best value for your money is the 5600G chip. It is blowing me away. I didn't expect much from this. I'm like, integrated graphics. I'm like, sure, I'll try it. But you can game on it. You can do productivity app. You good to go. Get this chip. I recommend it. Do it. Thanks for watching. Remember this tech.